Hey, it's Nay, and welcome to Hey Nay. So, the topic for today is music and dating. Um, I feel like this is so important. I think some people may not find it very important, but I think it is crucial. And let's get into the questions. So, does the music your significant other listen to tell you about them? I do think so. I think the music your significant other listen to does tell you something about them. But what is it telling you? That I don't know. I do think that for some people it's different. So if someone who listens to a lot of classical music, maybe they like the finer things in life, or they really have um, a good ear. They really like listening to people. That might say something. That might also mean that they're just a little bit more reserved, that they prefer things to be taken very seriously. Who knows what that means? If someone's listening to hip hop, um, does it mean that they have a little bit of a wild side or something? Or maybe it means that words mean a lot, and words have history and meaning to it. So you can interpret the music in so many different ways. So that is the challenge, trying to understand what it means. But I do think that it does show you something about that person. It's just hard to figure out exactly what that may be. But for someone like me who likes different types of music, it's hard for people to really get a hold on what I really like or what that means about me. But I think it does say something about me. It says that I like different things. I like trying new things because I like different music. I'm a lot more open as a person. I believe that I listen to and I have various different beliefs about different things, and I value different things. And I think it shows you how, I guess, eclectic I really am. Um, so the music tells you something. It definitely tells you something. What if your significant other does not like your music? Okay, now there is a difference here. So if your significant other does not like your music, um, then you can try to introduce to them. Going into popular songs. So like a lot of times, like certain people don't like certain artists, so you give them a popular song that they probably never heard of and get them used to it, or use a song that they've never heard that shows a different side to that artist or to that type of music and play it for them. Um, and that's usually what I do. For someone who doesn't necessarily like like, even though I'm very open to music, but the music that I really, really like, I guess you can say that I listen to more. If someone doesn't really like it, I try to introduce it to them in different ways. Sometimes I might have a song where they're featured with an artist that they like, or um, where there's cross genre music and things like that. That's always a good way of doing it. But I think also being very open to the music that they like. So if you're very open to the music that they like, it sort of opens up this open door. Like you guys are able to share music back and forth. I know a lot of couples create playlists for each other, and I think that's great. I love that. It's a way of you trying to understand your significant other in an indirect manner. And I think that's really cool. A lot of people do that, especially if they're away from each other. People do that, and I think that's good. And I think if you haven't done that, um, and you're in a relationship, I think that's something that you should do. I definitely think that's something you should do. It's a really good thing. I've done it with my friends too, so you can do it with your friends as well. Because I think it does help you understand a little bit more, especially when you talk about the song, like, oh, I really like this song, and I think I know why you like it, and then you can have a whole discussion about that. Now, if your significant other hates your music, which means that they know about it and they despise it, that is harder, because they might be very closed off to that music for some apparent reason that you may not understand. Um, but you got to think, like, the fact that this person hates it so much that they may not want you to play it, I think that may be too much. I think that might be saying too much. That's sort of saying that what you like doesn't matter. And I think you need to unpack that more. It may turn out that this person may not necessarily be right for you. And I know that sounds crazy to go from, person hating your music to breaking up. But it kind of, it's kind of telling you that maybe what you like, it does not matter to them. And I think it should, maybe not as much, but they should appreciate the fact that you appreciate it. You know what I mean? So you have to think of it in that context. But you kind of have to see. You kind of have to see where it falls for you. And if you're like looking for someone, or you're thinking about starting something with someone else, find out the type of music they listen to. It might tell you something about them. It might let you know, especially if you have something in common, like, oh, you like this music? Oh, I like that. Like, I know there was this one girl I was talking to not too long ago, and apparently she likes Third Story. I'm getting a shout out to Third Story, which is a very local band that's very up and coming. They're getting huge. They're getting bigger and bigger every month, honestly. But they started out in Brooklyn, and they're such a good group, and I love them. And I found that someone else listened to them, I'm like, wow, really? And then we started talking about Third Story, what concerts we've been to and everything. I think that's really great. So it sort of opens up, this avenue, which is just so great to have. What about dancing? What about it? Let me say, I'm going to give a little story. A lot of guys always, before I give a story, let me say this. A lot of guys think that, like, they don't want to dance. They don't think dancing is a thing. And, like, dance is not really for them. And some women are okay with that. Some women are okay with, the guy not dancing. Like, oh, pretty much a stereotypical view. But for me, it was very, very different. Growing up, you had to dance. That was just it for me. Like, you had no choice but to dance. You got made fun of if you didn't dance, and girls didn't like you if you couldn't dance. So you had to dance. I had no choice, especially because I had several cousins who were very into dancing, and you just had to. If you wanted to roll with them, if you wanted to be there, if you wanted to include it, you had to dance. You had to learn. I remember sometimes I used to practice, we used to practice and do different things because you had to know it. You couldn't be a part of the group if you couldn't dance. So dance became important to me. I even danced a little bit in grade school because you just had to. You had to learn these moves. And I learned different types of dances too, from hip hop music to slow jams and slow music. To salsa, merengue, manchata, things like that. I even learned a little breakdancing, not enough for me to do anything right now, but different things like that. And you had to know it. You just had to learn these different moves. You had no choice. So for me, it was important. And like I said, there were girls who would not even give you the time of day if you couldn't even dance. You had to dance with them. And depending on how you moved and your rhythm and things like that was impacted whether or not they were interested in you. So it was just something that you had to do. But I know that was for me, and that is maybe an isolated viewpoint compared to some other people's experiences. But I think for me, dancing is important, and I like to dance. I like to dance. I could dance by myself, but I do like to dance with women. I prefer to dance with women, and we have a good time, especially if it's a song that's really, really good. And I think that's great. It's having fun, and it does create some intimacy and closeness, which I think is important, especially if you haven't gotten there yet, especially if you haven't, made a connection yet, or a strong connection yet. You know what I mean? Dancing is a way of opening that door. So, for those of you guys who don't dance just because you don't want to, maybe you should try it. Maybe you should try something else. I think if you've never really gotten into it, you should get into it, And I'm not talking about like cheesy dancing and what's I'm trying to think of these like lame moves and stuff. Like you just dabbing once or twice is not dancing. I'm sorry. You what is it? The shopping cart thing. Those are not that's not dancing. Dance is several different moves put together that you're putting together to a music, very rhythmic, very, vibing, and everything is very, very going. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how that works. So you need to sort of get on that sort of route if you really want to fully experience dancing. And then for those of you already in relationships, ask your significant other about dancing. Would they want you to dance? Maybe you should try it. If they, maybe you just communicate about it and see what happens. They may not care, but they may do. They may not have wanted to pressure you. You never know. But I think it's something that is fun and it really is enjoyable, especially when you really, really get into it. And let me also say this, for those of you who have intentions of ever getting married, dancing is something that is somewhat of a prerequisite that you have to do. So it is important for you to start getting to practice now. But that's all the questions I have. Essentially, music is important. Music can let you reach to the soul of someone else. So definitely check it out. And that's it. So please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Like the YouTube channel, like on Facebook, share the video if you liked it and you want to send it to someone else and get them to talk to. Do that. Comment if you have something that you want to say. That's really cool. Positive comments, all about that. And that's it. Again, subscribe. And remember to always start your day off with a hey. Goodbye.